too big.
Introductions, we like to go around the room, people just to say your name and what program you're with, and if you work with disaster volunteers or have a CERT program, just give us a brief 1-minute update of maybe what you've been doing and plan to do, or if you have anything that you're doing for September, which is National Preparedness Month, just give us a quick little update. We're going to just record a couple of those so you can remain seated and just talk loud. So please, don't be shy, but we just like to have that. Sometimes we post those on the web, you know, on our Facebook page. Okay. Well, we'll give you time to finish your apple.
We'll start on this side of the room.
We can go counter.
Oh, do you?
I'll finish up because I have some minutes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so, okay, so
Okay.
thank you. We'll start over here.
My name's Brenda Reynolds. I'm with the Monroe County CERT. As far as programs, we're working on a safety check program to start to try to capture some of the information on our most at-risk residents in Monroe County.
My name is Debbie Sizemore. In my real job, I'm the Community Health Coordinator for the state of West Virginia. In my other capacities, I am a Green River County Citizen Corps volunteer, Medical Reserve Corps volunteer, Health Department volunteer through West Virginia Ready, and President of the WARTS. And the WARTS are the Williamsburg Area Emergency Response Team, for those of you who don't know. In terms of the wards, we just did a massive community mailing again, and for those of you who've been through the ward training, we do this periodically so that we can update our databases, so that we know how many people we have who are homebound, elderly, with disabilities, who have special needs, who have equipment they can share, who are willing to volunteer, and that kind of thing. So we recently just completed that. We meet quarterly, and probably our next big thing will be a drill sometime that will be unannounced and completely a surprise to our volunteers.
Paula Brown, Greenbrier County Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Citizen Corps, MRC, LAPC. Basically, we're going to have several drills coming up. No, for
real life events.
Yeah, real life events. But as far as the Citizen Corps and CERT program, we're actually, since most of the individuals have had shelter management training, we are starting to conduct some radio operations training, as well as Adobe Connect training, so that our shelters can be online with us during emergencies. In addition to that, after the training that we had for the pet preparedness in May, we're working to develop a community animal response team.
My name is Kelly Schrape. I'm the threat preparedness coordinator for Monroe County Health Department. I'm with Greenbrier Valley Citizen Corps, Greenbrier Valley Medical Reserve Corps, and the CERT program manager for Monroe County. And like Brenda just said, Brenda's one of our team leaders in Monroe County, and we're doing a shelter, we're doing a safety check project, we did the animal project, and basically we've grown our CERT to about 60 people in Monroe County, so we're getting in good with emergency management, becoming a part of the community.
I'm Lynn Bauer. I'm with Summers County CERT. I got nothing.
That's not true. Yeah, you went on the scram with this. Wait a minute. I guess
I'm Sean Dunbrack. I'm the Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management and 911 for Pocahontas County. We do not have a CERT program, but it's something that's being talked about within our LAPC, so we're kind of investigating where we can go with that.
I'm Dan Crocker with the Higher Education Policy Commission. I work in student services, and I use this meeting to provide liaison information to institutions throughout the state. So once things come up that's appropriate for colleges, I try to make sure the college reps get handle or hold the information from your office. And today I brought a driver, or I'm his driver as a matter of fact. I have to say it differently. But Jim's doing our office, and he'll introduce himself, but he may have a more formal attached assignment to this group than what I have. I have a more of a liaison role. And Jim will follow around.
Jim King, Higher Education Policy Commission. Some of my new responsibilities will be safety and security coordination for the 4-year campuses. And Dan has been gracious enough to include me in this to learn about what you guys are doing and how we can sort of hand off and make sure that all works in the coordination process.
Sean Wolford, Fayette County Emergency Management. We have a very active LEPC group, and we have some informal community groups throughout the county that assist in emergency. We're looking hopefully to kind of advance that to CERT teams, and so that's kind of where we're at in the process of building towards that, and hopefully get that training, get that organization going.
Joe Criasbane, the Fayette County Emergency Management. I'm Sean, this is all new to me, so.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Chuck Bennett. I work Homeland Security State Administrative Agency. I'm here with Mr. Who, my boss. I'm the driver.
Set him up.
Thank God.
You trying to lose it?
I'm actually currently working on some stuff that could benefit everybody in the group. We've received new curriculum for the Homeland Security Exercise and Evaluation Program that a lot of people require to properly execute exercises. And I have a couple of flyers with me. We're starting out 2 pilot courses down in Charleston, so it's close to my home base, so I can facilitate anything that goes wrong with the new curriculum. We'll be doing one on the 9th and the 10th of July at the Tri-State Fire Academy in Huntington, and then one also on the 16th and 17th of July at the Professional Development Center at the State Police and Institute. The courses are on our LMS course mail sign up. So if you need that or want it, sign up.
Do you know if there's any, sorry, do you know if there's going to be any funding available for scholarships to help pay lodging or anything?
You know,
I know.
the answer is, well, the answer always is maybe.
And then, you know, if I have a little bit of money.
I think it'd be really great if we could get some TV.
Well, I mean, that was unexpected, that
Right.
came my way,
Here.
that I may have some, but it just,
Well, and here,
it's all kind of.
here's really the 2 pieces of the broader answer to that.
Yeah.
In addition to being a pilot and working through, you know, some kinks with making sure the new curriculum, which we waited 3 years for from the federal government, the other intent of this class is to grow our instructor cadre. So if a person, you know, collectively we feel like is a good instructor candidate, the answer to that is yes. The reverse, the other part of the answer is, after these 2 courses, it's our intention to take it on the road so that we can, you know, maybe have some instructor costs, but not have all the participant costs.
Exactly.
And so in the not too distant future, we will have one in this area. So the preference would be, we probably, between Gina and I, would have some money for potential instructors, but for regular folks, it's probably advantageous to wait for their own colleagues in this area.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. As Chuck said, I'm David Hogue. Mr. Hogue, that's right.
Mr.
I can say Mr.
Yeah. I am the director of our Homeland Security State Administrative Agency, and it is always, always great to get out and see great things that grant dollars are actually doing. We try to make it an experience that is as relatively painless as possible. I think we have made a number of transitions to our grant process in the last couple of years that are hopefully moving us in that direction, where we all get consensus on something before we start into the paperwork. But any feedback that any of you all have on that, you know, we would be more than happy to hear that. The other piece really at this point to tell you is, you know, though grants are an uncertain reality out into the future, there's never an assurance until we actually have an award letter. You know, that does not prevent us from all brainstorming and continuing through all the process and identifying, you know, opportunities that are out there so that when money does become available, we can make those things happen. I'm going to talk a little more here in a bit, procedurally, a little how to do that, but really, I mean, I'll just say, and I'll talk about it a little more. We did have a senior advisory committee meeting yesterday where we got, I guess I should say, I got some policy clarification on some things. So, we'll talk about that and work on that. But that's sort of our function, is to ensure the state is in compliance with the prerequisites to get the grant dollars. We administer those and then monitor and report on them after the fact.
My name is Vanessa Van-Gilder. I work for Bureau for Behavioral Health and Health Facilities. We want to make sure that mental health is included in your preparation in all phases, all hazards, and not to forget recovery, that after the event is over. I also work at 911 dispatcher in Kanawha County.
I'm Stephanie Yu. I'm the director of Volunteer West Virginia. For those of you who don't know, that's where Gina and Lisa are both out of. Our other function as a state agency is to run the state's AmeriCorps programs. And so that's kind of something I wanted to, so a couple of random announcements. Did you want to do something?
You go ahead and
there's a couple of things, and this will probably lead somewhat into the BOAD conversation too, but so one quick announcement is that I think I talked to this group, and I know some of you are new, this group about the Governor's Day to Serve last year. We're doing it again this year. There'll be mini grants available again because you have, this September is your National Preparedness Month. Sometimes you're doing community events that the mini grants might be appropriate for. It's up to $500. We don't have the application open yet, but we will shortly on our website. I mean, it may be open, but it's not sort of officially been launched. We're kind of waiting on the governor to announce it like he did last year, although we're hoping it will be slightly earlier this year rather than just a couple weeks before the event kicked off. The dates for Day to Serve, counterintuitively, are about 2 weeks. It's September 12th through the 28th. But we're kind of, if events are in the background, so any of the events, if you're doing in September, we can count that. We're not too worried about kind of being hard and fast about those guidelines. But the event is regionally planned, which is part of why I think some of these things aren't under our control. It's with Maryland, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. So the 3 governors and the mayor of DC have been working together on this. And, it started out as the main themes were feed the hungry and environmental stuff, but it sort of broadened into any kind of thing that can benefit the community, including, preparedness events or those kind of things. So, we're pretty flexible on that. We've been a little bit hesitant to fund with those mini grants things that are more aimed at volunteer recognition and aimed more at education and that kind of thing. So, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. But we do have some funding set aside, and that, like I say, that application will be open and promoted shortly. And as part of the Day to Serve, one of the things that we're doing is we're kind of kicking it off in conjunction with what is the 20th anniversary of AmeriCorps. And so there's a big event in September in Charleston, and it's a statewide, or it's a citywide service project, and then the swearing in of our AmeriCorps members will occur at the Capitol that afternoon. It's a little bit earlier than usual, but there's a simultaneous swearing in across the country is the idea of all AmeriCorps members and all, as many alum as they can possibly get of the, million alum that are out there. So it's kind of a big event. Anybody is welcome to take place if you're involved in any of the AmeriCorps programs in your area, or VISTA, or Senior Corps, or any other national service and would like to be involved. You can get in touch with our office.
Do most people know what AmeriCorps is, and did you want to brief little?
More or less. I mean, it's the year, for most people, it's a year of community service. It's sort of
Yes.
like the domestic Peace Corps.
Yeah.
And so each state has some programs, and then there are some national programs that have members in the various states, but our office runs the state programs. And we have a bunch of programs, and there's a bunch of programs in this area as well. One of our High Rocks in Pocahontas County is a big program, and it actually bleeds into Monroe and Greenbrier as well. So they're doing a bunch of stuff. But in keeping with that, I kind of want to give you a little preview of what we're trying to do, and David and I have been talking about this, of what we're trying to do with AmeriCorps going forward. And part of this was inspired by the chemical spill. But part of it is, AmeriCorps members tend to help out or are sometimes available in disasters and have been responsive and have some training. But our goal over the next year, over this next program year, and the AmeriCorps program year tends to track the school year, so it's usually they start somewhere between August and October and go through the following summer. And in some states, AmeriCorps members are very much available for deployment in disasters. And it really varies the degree that it, you know, you may have heard, I think this group we've talked to about the FEMA Corps, which is the national version, and FEMA can deploy them, which they're always available for disaster or deployment. That's what they do. It's not sort of, you know, they're not tutors on the side and then do the disaster deployment there full time, but they can only be deployed by FEMA and it comes from the federal level. So we kind of want to do
And they're
that.
not direct service. I think they're more paperwork kind of people.
They're paperwork, but they do some of each. And then
Yeah.
the NCCC teams, which I know a lot of you met with Boy Scout stuff and all that, the NCCC teams can do the immediate, the mucking out and the actual, you know, sort of immediate on the ground response. But so our goal, and we're kind of feeling this out, we've been talking to BOAD, we've been talking to Red Cross, we've been talking to David, is to have our members trained in various things. And so we've sort of been having this conversation about what are the priorities for those members. Year-round members this year will have somewhere between 175 and 200 throughout the state. And so, you know, like I say, part of this with the chemical spill, so many of our members in the Kanawha Valley area were sitting around for the month of January between the weather and the chemical spill. You know, the schools were closed, they weren't able to serve, they weren't able to do what they normally do. And some of them did participate in some of the donations management and some of the water delivery and that kind of thing. But there wasn't a lot of infrastructure in place for the deployment process. So that's what we're trying to build. And like I say, we are going to have some active training with AmeriCorps members. One of the things that I was hoping to get from this group, and Gina and I, we'll kind of be coordinating this over the next month or two, is, you know, it may vary how these AmeriCorps members are kind of set up to deploy, whether it's through a CERT team, whether in some of these places where the CERT teams are really active, whether they can be attached to that CERT team and go through that normal training process. Whether they go through the Red Cross, which, you know, there's pros and cons to that process. But, you know, and some of it, the idea would be to be responsive to whatever the local needs are. If you feel like you have a pretty good CERT team where you are, maybe that's not what you need. Maybe we need to focus on the BOAD side of it. And we've talked some with Jenny about, Jenny or BOAD, about what we could do, because I think BOAD wants to have a call center whenever the state EOC is open. And that's something that we've been talking about, how we staff that, and that's part of where AmeriCorps volunteers can come in. But that's really a Charleston area thing, you know, that's where the center would be at our office. So, you know, and obviously that can last a week, can last a day, can last whatever it might be. But, so we're working with our programs. There's some new infrastructure we want to put in place, but we want to make sure that you all are part of that conversation. In terms of if we have, in some counties there might be 2 AmeriCorps members, there might not be a lot. You know, and so the idea of deploying them, you know, kind of varies depending on what your needs are. So like I say, I want to put that out there that this is something that we're working to build. Again, the easiest thing, sort of, we're kind of doing a pilot program this year, and the easiest thing is to sort of plug into that Red Cross volunteer infrastructure. And CERT to the extent possible. But, you know, there's obviously a great deal of training involved in that, and I'm not sure we're quite there yet. You know, we want to hear. There are areas where you feel like we need volunteers where, you know, from the Red Cross perspective, there's a lot of focus on the shelter management or disaster assessment. And that seems like a decent start, but if there's other ideas out there, we're open to what this looks like. But the bottom line is those are 200 people throughout the state that we can deploy if we need to. And, you know, and some of them, obviously there's, you know, some of them can travel more easily than others. There's, you know, there's other considerations, but, you know, they have been active in a number of other states' disasters. They have responded to Sandy. There's definitely more movement to have the AmeriCorps members be able to be redirected as needed. So, you know, that they're supposed to be serving a community, and the community is dealing with something like this, that's where they should be. So, so we're working on that. So I just kind of want to, like I said, I just want to put it out there to you. And if you have questions or ideas or suggestions, I'm open to them. We're kind of filling this out as we go. But, you know, we'll keep you all in that loop. I I don't know, that's about all I have.